you don't feel equipped to start your first amigurumi project after watching this video, you can unsubscribe because I've clearly failed at my job. Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Larissa and I crochet plushies. And if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back and thank you for being here. This week's video is going to be a complete beginner guide on amigurumi crochet / plushie making. I started my crochet journey in 2023 with amigurumi, and within less than a week I went from beginner to intermediate, and this was with a bunch of stumbles along the way in terms of like materials and things I needed to know, so I could have been even quicker if I just had one video that compiled all the necessary information for me from the jump. This video is going to be worked in 3 parts. The first part is going to be all of the tools and equipment that you need, and I will also be offering like household item alternatives if you don't have the means to access all of the tools. Part 2 is going to be a tutorial of the key 7 stitches in amigurumi that I believe are the most important to learn. Of course, there are many more stitches that you will want to learn as you advance, but I believe that these 7 stitches are what form the foundation of any amigurumi plushie, and there are many tutorials you can follow just knowing these stitches. I'll also be demonstrating in plush yarn and teaching you guys how to work with plush yarn. Lastly, part 3 is going to be some free beginner resources such as video tutorials and written patterns. After watching this video, I highly suggest going to one of these free resources and practicing or making your very first amigurumi project. So without further ado, let's get straight into the video. Starting off with materials, the first thing you will need is a crochet hook. This is a non-negotiable, of course. I have 2 examples here that I sell on my shop Scarly. This is the Clover Amour crochet hook and the Hamanaka crochet hook set. These 2 are more mid-tier crochet hooks. You can buy very, very affordable crochet hooks from Amazon, Kmart, Spotlight. I'm from Australia, so all the places I will share are in Australia or some online as well. You can go to eBay, anywhere you can get crochet hooks for like anywhere from like $1 to $2 to more. So there are plenty of resources for you to be able to go and access a crochet hook. You can also probably thrift some. And for amigurumi, working with plush yarn, I highly recommend using a 5mm crochet hook, which is what I have here. I work with anything from 4mm to 6mm for all of my plushies with my plush yarn. 5mm is just what I gravitate towards the most, but anywhere in that range is going to be perfectly fine. The next non-negotiable, of course, is going to be your yarn. For amigurumi projects, most people love working with some plush yarn, so I have my own brand here to show you guys Scarly. This is Teddy Bakery plush yarn, and it is a chunky chenille yarn. That is the name of the type of yarn that produces those super plush, soft toys. So if you cannot access Scarly Teddy Bakery where you are, then you can just search up size 6 chunky chenille yarn, and there will be so many different brands available for all different price points. And you can also work with any other yarn that you desire, but I know a lot of people are interested in amigurumi using this type of yarn to get that sort of look. Next up, we have stitch markers. This is another crochet essential, but there are alternatives. This one is available on my website Scarly again. It's a pack of about 124. You definitely don't need this many, especially as a beginner. You can get a pack of like 10 or so for about $1, maybe less, maybe a bit more, off of Amazon, eBay, again, your local craft store. And they just basically mark your round so you don't forget where you've started, and also just to keep tabs of stitches that you want to sort of mark that are significant. So I do recommend having more than one for sure, because you will end up losing them throughout your crochet journey if you stick around enough. But you can also substitute stitch markers with some household items. You can use earrings. That's something I've seen people do. When I first started, I didn't have stitch markers. I used a safety pin. I do not recommend doing this unless you're an adult like me and you can be extra cautious because you can poke yourself. Or you could also use paper clips or anything really that can sort of just get in under the stitch and keep everything secure. Next up, we have plastic darning needles. I do highly recommend getting these plastic ones. You can also get metal ones. These are just to sew your work. With amigurumi, there is a lot of sewing involved inevitably. There are no-sew projects, but if you stick around long enough, you will probably have to sew something at some point. I spend a lot of my time sewing, even though I hate it, but you can just get these plastic darning needles. Again, super affordable. You can get them for $1, under $5. Again, online or at your local craft store. I sell these on Scarly. But when I first started, I didn't have a darning needle or anything with a wide enough eye hole to thread through my yarn. So what I used was my crochet hook, and I sewed with my crochet hook at the very beginning, and it worked. It was more time consuming, but if you don't have access to these darning needles, then you can use your crochet hook. Next up, this is an amigurumi specific supply, and this is some plastic safety eyes. This is a pack of 100 that I sell again on Scarly, which is why I have all of these things that haven't been used, because I have my own shop. But this comes in 5 different sizes, so 10 pairs of each size, so 5 different sizes. This is perfect for beginners. I actually bought one exactly like this when I first started out. Now I use way too many plastic safety eyes, so I buy them in bulk. But they also come with the little washers that you stick on the back to fasten them into your project. Again, you don't necessarily need these, but I highly recommend them because they're just my favorite. I love the black safety eye look. They just make your plushies look so cute. You can use yarn, you can use felt, you can use a bunch of other substitutes. You don't really have to use eyes at all if you don't want to. You can, draw them on, but I do highly recommend getting some of these. This one I sell for $10, so you shouldn't really be paying any more than that. Next we have scissors, self-explanatory. You should have some in your house already. If you don't have scissors and you're using plush yarn, you can actually use a floss container, with the one that cuts the floss. I use that when I go on airplanes. So that's another substitute, but scissors, pretty self-explanatory. Last but not least, we have polyester stuffing. This is just the stuffing that you use to, fluff up your plushie. You can get them, again, like Spotlight, Big W, all these places for, I think, like under $10, maybe even under $5, I don't know. You can get them like in different grams, different sizes. So you can get them in a smaller pack if you're just starting, or alternatively, you can use, one of my followers said you can get like cheap final discount pillows for maybe like $1 or $2 and just use the stuffing from the pillows. You could do like other toys that are on sale. You can use scrap yarn. There's a lot of different ways to get around it. Maybe some old fabric that you're not using anymore to stuff your plushies. There's a lot of different substitutes, but what I use is polyester stuffing. I think it's called Hobby Fill. And that is all you will need to begin your amigurumi journey. Again, most of these have substitutes, so you really only need your crochet hook and your yarn. But now we'll get into the tutorial portion of how to make the 7 most common essential stitches for crochet. I'm here with my Teddy Bakery plush yarn and my 5mm crochet hook. And now I'm ready to teach you guys the 7 most basic and important amigurumi crochet stitches in my opinion. So first off, we are going to make a chain. So to make a chain, we have to first make a slip knot if we are just starting from yarn, just like this, with no existing stitches. So to make a slip knot, what we want to do is take your yarn tail and hold it in place, and we want to make a circle. So just flip your yarn over like that to make a circle. Here it kind of will look like a ribbon of sorts, but we're just after this little circle here. And in the circle, what we want to do is take our working yarn, which is the yarn that's connected to your skein, and bring it through the circle. So under and through, like so. So bringing through your working yarn. You can take your crochet hook here if you want to place it in, and tighten the slip knot by pulling this little end here. And pull it. You don't want to pull it too tight so that it's like stuck. You want it to be movable. You want your slip knot to be able to change sizes. And to change sizes of your slip knot, you basically just pull the yarn tail like so. Pull until you have a slip knot that you can put onto your hook. And there's your slip knot. Just place it on your hook like so. To make a chain, what we want to do is yarn over on your hook. This is a yarn over, just wrapping your yarn like so around your hook. And then pull the loop off your hook, and that's how you make one chain. So I'll show you guys, we'll make multiple chains here. Yarn over, pull the loop off your hook. Yarn over, pull the loop off your hook. And then continue. Now a good rule of thumb is to make sure you always have at least one loop on your crochet hook at all times. If you don't have any loops on your crochet hook, you're not going to be able to make anything. So yarn over, pull loop off, yarn over, pull loop off. And that's how you make a chain. And so here's my little multiple chains that I've made. It looks sort of like a braid, which is what it should be looking like this. And there is your chain. The next stitch I'm going to teach you guys is the single most important stitch in amigurumi, which is a single crochet. you will be making hundreds, if not thousands, if not millions of single crochet stitches if you crochet as much as me in making amigurumi. So this is our main stitch. So to make a single crochet, what we're going to do is first locate your previous stitch. So this is, I've done single crochets already here over my chain, and this is what they should look like. They'll look like little braids. One single stitch is 2 loops of yarn that make this little like V shape, or it looks like a piece of barley, whatever helps you recognize it. So you want to take your hook, go under 1 stitch, which is the 2 loops you've seen, yarn over, and pull a loop through underneath, like so. Now there's 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over again one more time on your crochet hook, and pull the 2 loops off. So pull both loops off like so, and that's how you make a single crochet. So do it again, go into our stitch, yarn over, pull a loop through, yarn over one more time, and pull the 2 loops off. Go under, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull the 2 loops off. And there you have it. That is your single crochet stitch. And you will be making a lot of these. The more you practice, the better you'll become. You'll develop that muscle memory. It'll just become second nature to you. This is how you make a single crochet. It's very, very simple. So the next stitch we have is called an increase, and this is basically to make your work bigger. It's self-explanatory. You use an increase to increase. So an increase is basically 2 single crochets into 1 stitch. So we're not learning any new stitches, we're just making 2 single crochets into the same stitch. So you can locate here is my stitch that's closest to my hook. So this will be the stitch I'm working in. We'll make 2 single crochets into that stitch, like so. So it's 1 single crochet, and then another into the same stitch, and 2. And that's how you increase. You basically turn 1 into 2. Do that again, 1 single crochet, another single crochet into the same stitch. And as a beginner, you might have a difficult time recognizing all of the stitches. You might miss some. So a good idea is to keep in your notes app or write down on a piece of paper every time you make a stitch. That's what I did as a beginner when I wasn't sure yet and I wasn't too familiar, especially with increases, because you might not be sure if you're going into that same stitch twice or if you're just going into the next stitch. I know it can all be very confusing at the beginning. So just keep track of how many stitches you've made, count them, and you'll figure out with your pattern, you should have a set number of stitches by the end of each round, and if it doesn't meet that number, you know you've gone wrong somewhere. We've now made a bunch of increases, and I would like to take that back and shrink my work back to the original number, so we're going to make some decreases, which is the next stitch that you will most definitely need to know to make any amigurumi project. So decrease, opposite to the increase, of course, is you're making 2 stitches and turning them into 1. So to make a decrease, this is how we will do it. So go into your first stitch here, yarn over and pull through a loop, like so. And then we're going into the second stitch. Go insert your hook under there, yarn over, pull through another loop. So now we have 3 loops on our hook instead of 2 for normal single crochet. So there's 3 loops here, yarn over, pull all 3 loops off. And that's how you make a regular decrease. So going into our first stitch, yarn over, pull a loop through. Second stitch, yarn over, pull a loop through. Yarn over one more time and pull all 3 loops off your hook. And that's how we decrease. First stitch, yarn over, pull through. Second stitch, yarn over, pull through. Yarn over again, pull all 3 loops off. And that is how you make your decreases. They are pretty simple. Again, all of this just takes practice. They are actually very easy stitches to make once you get the hang of it, but when you're learning something new, as always, it can always seem a bit daunting and confusing. The next stitch I'm going to be teaching you guys is called a slip stitch. Now this is a stitch you're not going to use as often as your single crochets, increases, and decreases, but they are good to know because you may have to do one here and there. So a slip stitch is basically going under your first stitch here, your next stitch, insert your hook as usual, yarn over, pull a loop through, and then taking that loop you've just pulled through underneath your stitch, you want to use that loop to take off the first loop on your hook, like so. So instead of yarning over again and pulling 2 loops off your hook, you're just going under, yarn over, pull through, and then pull that loop off your hook, like so. So it's a small stitch. Under, yarn over, pull through, and then pulling that loop off your hook. And that's how you make a slip stitch. Now the next stitch I'm going to teach you is called a color change, and again, self-explanatory. When you are working in the same piece and you need to change colors, this is how you will do it. So let's say I'm single crocheting and I need to make 1 more single crochet before I change colors. So this will be the last single crochet in my blue, and then I need to change over into this pale yellow color. How I'm going to do that is I'm going to start by going under my stitch and making a single crochet, going through the normal processes, pulling through a loop like so. So we're about to finish our single crochet. Instead of yarning over in blue again and pulling through, what we're going to do is take our second color that we're changing into, place that on the hook like so, and just wrap it, leave a bit of a tail. You don't have to do anything special, just wrap it over the hook and hold it so it doesn't, get loose and fall off, and then pull the 2 loops off our hook with the new color. So just finishing off that single crochet in your new color at the end of your last stitch. As you can see, this last stitch is still in blue, but next we will be working in our new color. So our next stitch will here be in this pale yellow that I've just made another single crochet in the yellow. And that's how you color change. So let's do that one more time. I'm going to change back to blue. So make our last single crochet in the yellow, say that we need 3 single crochets, and this is our 3rd one. Going underneath the stitch, making a single crochet, pulling through a loop, like so. So we have 2 loops on our hook, then taking the blue, yarn over, and pull the 2 loops off. And now we've finished using the yellow, and we're back to blue. And that's how you make a color change, super simple. Now the last stitch I'm going to be teaching you guys is kind of infamous in the crochet community. It's called a magic ring or magic circle. They mean the same thing. They're usually abbreviated as MR or MC. But this is what you will use to start every round or any plushie that needs to be worked in rounds. So as you can see, I'll show you guys, like this little corn that I've made, there's a magic ring at the top. To work in our little circles, you do need to do a magic ring. You can use a chain method, but at the end you need to have a ring. And as you can see, what I had been working in previously, to show you guys the other stitches, this is not in rounds, this is just in rows. So if you want to work in rounds, you'll need to start with a magic circle or magic ring to make a circle, or you need to start with a foundation chain. But to make a circle or a cylinder, anything round, you will need to use a magic circle or magic ring. So to make a magic circle, what you need to do is hold your non-dominant hand out like this, like you're pointing a water gun, and lay your yarn diagonal in the direction of your fingertips, like so. So to your right, or whichever is your working hand. And then just pinch the yarn down like so, so it doesn't unravel. Turn your fingers around, your hand around, and go straight down behind your fingernails. So at the back of the hand, you go straight, and then flipping back to the front, we make an X. So diagonal in the front, straight in the back. So making an X here on the front, turn back around again, and then make another straight line down behind the first one. And then just hold the yarn on the front, and then now we'll take our crochet hook, go underneath the first strand of yarn, pick up the second strand, and pull through under the first. And once you've pulled it under the first strand, give your hook a nice twist that has the yarn on it. Just twist it in place, basically. And then now what you want to do is pinch off all your work and pull it out of your fingers. Make sure that it doesn't unravel. And now just make sure that you're holding it nice and still. What we want to do is make 1 chain. So I've already taught you guys how to make a chain. So make a chain, yarn over, pull through. And then we've made a chain. And as you can see, our little tail here of the magic ring is facing our dominant hand. It's on my right side, and we want it to be on our left, or whichever hand you're holding your working yarn with. So what I'm going to do is flip the entire circle, the whole circle like this, flip it so that the strand is now facing my left hand. And what this does is creates the mechanism to close your ring. So this strand of yarn you will pull to close the ring once you've made your single crochets. And don't do it so soon, but I'm just showing you guys how it works. To make a magic ring or magic circle, this is the basis of it, but it will never just be like this. You will need to make a certain amount of single crochets into the magic ring. And I'll teach you guys how to do that with plush yarn, because it can be a little bit harder with plush yarn than with, say, like cotton or acrylic. So let's say we need to make 6 single crochets in a magic ring, which is usually the most common amount of single crochets you will have to make in a magic ring. We'll do it like so. So you go underneath your little loose strand here, the tail that you'll use to shut the ring, and also on your left side of your ring. So go under both of those strands and then make a single crochet just under those 2 strands, like so. And then after you've made your first single crochet like I have here, pull the tail a little bit, so pull the circle a little bit closed, just slight little bit, because in most other magic ring tutorials they'll tell you make all of your single crochets and then pull the yarn shut, but it can become stuck with plush yarn. That is a risk that you run working with this type of yarn. So what I like to do to prevent that is just pull a little bit shut after every single crochet. So second single crochet, and then pull a little bit. As you can see, it's closing nice. Third single crochet, pull, fourth, pull, fifth, pull, and then last single crochet. And then pull the remainder of the ring closed so that there's no gap. So there's no more gap in the middle, and there you have your magic ring with 6 single crochets. And that's how you make your magic ring. Now that we've gone through the tutorials for the essential crochet stitches that you will need, it is time for me to give you guys some free resources to start crocheting your own plushies. I have 8 tutorials to share with you guys. Many of these I used myself as a very early beginner crocheter, so I can vouch for how good they are for beginners, and 4 of them are on YouTube, while the other 4 are on Ribbler, which is a website/app that has all things crochet and knitting, and they are written patterns. For the YouTube tutorials, the first one I have for you guys is actually the first video I ever watched to learn how to crochet, and it's this chick by Willow Art Studio. It's the first thing I ever made, and I highly recommend this YouTube video because it's super simple. The next one I have is this Dino by Crafter Frog, and I actually used this as my second ever crochet plushie tutorial as well. So again, highly recommend, because I did it and was able to complete it myself, and here I am today still crocheting. The next one is my crochet chick tutorial. This is my first ever YouTube video, and I also have it on Ribbler and Instagram in written. So this one is another super easy beginner crochet tutorial for a super cute octopus, and it doesn't take too long to complete as well. And lastly, this one is slightly bigger. This one is a little heart by Mahome Crochets. It's kind of like a jelly cat vibe. And I think this one is super cute if you have made a couple of the smaller ones first and then moving on to this heart as like your first bigger amigurumi project. I think this one would be perfect. And for the written patterns on Ribbler, I have this bee by Endless Crochet Creations, another one I used as an absolute beginner. Bees are a super classic amigurumi plushie. You will have seen them everywhere, and it's great for beginners and super cute and fun to make. Next we have this Leggy Frog by Laloon Crochet QC, another banger. This one is a classic amigurumi plushie, great for beginners, and also does teach you some new ways to work with stitches as a beginner, so it's something fun to play around with to expand your skill set a little bit too. Next up I have this Pickle by Wiggles World, another one that I love making. Super quick and easy and perfect for beginners, and I think pickles are really cute as well, so this one I highly recommend. And the last one I have is this Chunky Mushroom by Chunky Crochet. This one I still make to this very day. It has been one of my best sellers on Etsy back when I used to sell made-to-order plushies as a beginner at the start of my crochet journey. This one is super cute because even though it is perfect for beginners, it's something that you probably will find yourself coming back to as a market classic or something to make for your friends as gifts, and something that you might want to post on your Instagram once you finish making it because it's that cute. So yeah, another great beginner plushie. And that is all for this video. I hope you guys got a lot of information out of it and got yourself started on learning how to make certain crochet stitches or just learned which stitches will be important for when you first start, and then you can continue learning from here. This is just your absolute basics, the foundation that you're going to be building your crochet skills and development from. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. It would really help out my channel. And if you have anything you'd like to share with me, please leave it in the comments below. I love reading what you guys have to say. And if you want to see more crochet related content, you can subscribe and join my little family. Love you guys. Bye.